Hey everybody, and welcome to Department Spotlight, where we talk to our friends and colleagues about just things in the film industry. Today we are talking with Bre'anne Holz, who is the producer of all 6 of our films. All 6. Like me and Mark, we only directed 3 each. Even with writing, we co-wrote, so we had backup. Bre'anne did all of them on her own. But she also had some help on some of the films from Leah Sharples. So she was the producing assistant on some of the films. But the majority of the films Brie did herself. So that's 6, yeah.
It's 12 now.
I had a lot of help from you guys. A lot.
Hey, okay.
What? You did it all.
No, I didn't.
You
I'll take
did
it.
it all, and then you were like, you did everything, and then you're like, am I doing enough? You're like, making everything
We were
happen.
literally, we had this conversation a few times. We were like, what would we have done without Brie? No kidding. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's start it off. What is the role of a producer?
So, I think a producer works very closely with each department to try and make the film happen. So, besides for organizing, making sure everything runs smoothly throughout the production process, in every phase, and also just problem solver and basically just trying their best to make the production happen the way it is in the director's vision and everyone's vision.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when people get hurt on set, Brie takes them to the hospital.
That was the first.
That obviously hasn't happened, except that one time that it happened.
Yeah.
So,
Which is cool. It's a good experience, I guess.
Yeah.
To know how you deal with internal panic under pressure.
So let's talk about that situation. So on the film, Alle grappies op 'n stokkie, our lead actress Tanya got a splinter from the doghouse go not in her thumb, through the thumb. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was a tiny splinter, but
It was big.
okay, it was for a splinter. It was huge.
Yes.
But it wasn't a log. So she went to the hospital. They
Cut it out. They could just cut it out.
So you're telling me that
Stitched it
cut
up.
open the skin and then pulled it
Yeah,
out?
so the splinter was through. They just cut.
Whoa!
it out.
It went through this way.
Yeah.
I thought it went through that
No.
way.
No,
That would've been worse.
it went through the
The fat.
The width.
The width, yeah. And then they stitched it up. And she was so brave. She
Yeah.
got local. They injected her. Damn.
That's crazy. Tanya's a rock star.
She is the best.
When it happened, right? What was going through your mind? Just talk us through that from a producer's perspective.
So it was a little bit strange because obviously it happened. I didn't know how serious it was or how serious it would be because I thought it was just a splinter. But I was actually pretty calm until we were driving to the hospital, and then I started feeling
Subscribe.
So I think when it happened and realizing I'm just going to take her to the hospiol, I don't know, maybe that's just how I dealt with it, to just stay calm.
Which is very important. If all of us were what do I do?
Yeah.
What would have happened?
I
I was
think
dying inside.
I think if it was more serious, life-threatening, I probably would have panicked.
What are some unexpected things that you've learned through producing?
I think learning that things are unexpected. So I've been in a few situations that I would never want to be in again, but things that maybe I should have predicted, that you learn through experience, but that if looking back, I would never have expected. So what I've learned that's unexpected is that a lot of things are going to happen unexpectedly, because you can't foresee everything that's going to happen, and you can't plan for that. And personally, I've done things on set and to my crew, not bad things, but things that I probably should have seen ahead and planned for, but I didn't, because just at my level of experience, I didn't have that knowledge.
All right.
Yeah.
Can you give us some examples?
So
So you poisoned the children.
no, it's not that bad. It's just unpleasant. So like we shot in like a broken down building in a park, and there was a hobo living in there. And obviously because he was hiding, it was dirty, but he was also peeing in bottles. So we obviously got all the permission to shoot in the building in the park and stuff, and we went there the day before to clean, and then like just the area we were going to shoot in, just the room, and we like chucked out all the pee bottles, and then the next morning before we got there, the security got there, and in one of the other rooms knocked over a pee bottle, but they were like 2 liters. And it was the day of our shooting, you know, you get like one day in after.
Yeah.
So it smelt like when we left set, we felt sick, like we inhaled a sickness. It was,
That's rough.
and his urine was like orange because he's a hobo. So he doesn't
Yeah.
have access to a lot of water or healthy things.
Yeah.
That was horrible. It was just like a dirty environment.
Yeah.
But I didn't know the security would go in there and knock over 2
Yeah.
liters of pee
Yeah.
in another room.
Like,
And
just keep the cap and, like, close it.
So yeah, that
I
was...
started while we're telling this story.
I have a hobo story.
Oh yeah?
This is what it's turned into.
So, no, but it's not bad. It's, so we were also shooting in, like, an abandoned building, in, like, the south part of town, you know? And like it started to get dark, so we were like wrapping, taking stuff away. So we all just had like torches, and most of us were using just our phones. And then so I'm walking with like the cinematographer, and this guy comes through, and there was a lot of extras. Okay, there was a lot of people helping, but he comes through with his like tiny ass torch. Like it didn't do anything. I'm like, your torch is weak, and you should feel weak, right? He passes and. Vince, the cinematographer, is like, I don't think he was with us. I'm like, no, turn around, I'm sorry.
So you dissed a hobo.
So I
and
dissed
you
a hobo.
talked.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, cool.
I don't have any hobo stories. I feel left out. Let's talk about producing.
Good idea.
What is important to consider when producing specifically a short film?
So I think with the short film, you have to know going into it that it's going to be a lot more difficult because generally, and this is like stereotyping, short films are indie films. So they're going to have low budgets. So you know that you're going to put a lot more work in. You're not going to have like this huge producing team and the luxury of like a location scout and stuff like that. So you have to go into it knowing that you're going to do a lot more work. And you also have to consider that because of that, you have to work closely with the crew, you know, and ask for their help sometimes, like the way you guys helped me with location and stuff like that. And just considering the budget as well, it's really difficult working on a low budget. Probably, especially if you're coming from working on feature films to a short film, you know, trying to get catering and craft and making sure the crew are like comfortable and not going over the 12 hours and trying to shoot everything probably in a day because a lot of the people are working for a lot less than what they would get paid. So I think the biggest consideration is budget and knowing that you're going to run into difficulties that you're just going to have to work with and make plans around.
So then tying into this project with the 6 shorts, you know, what do you think was like the biggest challenge, or how did you apply what you just said to these films?
I'd have to say personally, I mean, I don't know how everyone else felt. Location for me was a struggle. Balancing, obviously, work, and then this, and trying to find time to do both. And I think location, because it's kind of like asking, does anyone know someone who has an apartment? Or we need a pool. Does anyone know someone with a big enough pool that we can dive into?
Yeah.
So that then goes into considering that you have to ask for help because, I mean, to pay for these locations is going to be expensive. And there wasn't budget for it, but also preferably you want to put your budget somewhere else. And I know they say put your budget on screen, But when there's a whole lot of other stuff to consider, if we can get like a really good location sponsored by a friend or a family member, I think that's always better.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Like locations are really difficult. Like,
Tough.
yeah, especially considering like a lot of locations we had in mind, or we had a few locations locked, and then the week before or whatever, it's like, oh no, sorry, I'm having a thing that day. I can't. I forgot that you're shooting, and I think that's a challenge when you're on low budget because you're not really always paying people for location specifically, and then I'm not saying it's a bad thing on their side, but they forget about it, or they're like, oh no, that's Saturday's free, and then when you ask them, they're like, oh no.
Yeah, and then
Actually.
you can't get upset about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's for free.
And you immediately have to go into finding another place, you know?
And adapting to that
Adapting the
location.
script.
You're changing all your plans according to that.
Yeah. But I mean, I think we got lucky with our locations.
We did.
I mean, even the ones that we had to swap out last minute, I think they worked really well.
No,
you know?
our locations worked out, definitely.
Yeah. And also, like, speaking of things like falling out last minute, like people who's like, I'll be there definitely, and then
Extras.
the day before, it's like,
Yeah.
BDS people.
The BCS people, that's the problem as well. Because there's people that we're not paying because it's low budget, and we kind of just
You
like,
can't even get mad at them because it's
yeah.
like probably working.
Yeah. Also, especially on which one was it? Public engagement. It was the rugby. So like so many people pulled out because like I'm gonna watch the rugby, and I mean fair enough. Like it's a big thing for a lot of people, but like we planned this like months in advance. We didn't know.
Plan for things
We did,
like
yeah.
that,
How are we supposed to know that the Springboks were gonna get that far? I mean,
Wow.
maybe
Whoa.
I shouldn't say it.
Whoa.
No, but I mean like seriously,
Podcast
it's
is over.
I mean, luckily our like main cast and crew came through, but then there were other people that we had to shoot on another day or whatever. But then the location again, that was the one thing that we had to pay for because it's it's a park. There's people who can kick us out, and then we can't change the day on that. We're like, oh no, it's rugby. Let's just do it the next weekend.
But I think from like a location's point of view, from like the writing as well that leads into the producing is like, if you don't have money, don't write for stupid locations that you know you can't get as well. Like we had a very like conscious thinking of like what locations are we able to get. Like even if we knew that we necessarily didn't like have that, it was like, oh, we will be able to find one of those. You know what I mean?
Good example, the restaurant. Like a restaurant is that weird thing where it's like it is difficult to get, but you can probably like find one. There's so many around. One of them is bound to say yes. And we only found a location like a week before we shot.
But that's also when working on short films as well. Like with these specifically, is also more work leading into like what am I saying? With the whole catering thing. So like doing trade exchanges, it leads into doing more work because you have a low budget. So like ideally you just get a catering company or get food.
Yeah.
But because we needed food cheaper,
Yeah.
so we made a trade exchange, and that leaves more work with like us to pull through on that and give them what we told them we would do for them,
Yeah. All in between doing work and post on the things that we created for ourselves, and now we have to do that for them. It's like a vicious cycle.
But you do it because you love it.
That's true.
I mean, we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't go through the effort if we
Exactly.
Just
Exactly. I mean,
yeah.
We didn't spend. We didn't spend no money on this, So it was. It's definitely a thing that you have to decide. Okay, this is worth it, and I'm gonna do whatever to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
What are some of your best tips? Bre'anne's hot tips for an effective pre-prod.
Alright, pre-prod.
Just explain what pre-prod is.
Okay, so
Pre the production. Done.
Let's get into it.
So pre-prod is basically when you've got the script and the director and some of the budget, and now it's time to organize, to plan the shoot, who you're going to get to be in your crew, who's going to be your cast. It's like, now you're really planning the film. Tips would be, again, try work with people who you trust, because there's nothing worse than unresponsive people who don't pitch on the day or like even a week before, just like drop you. Be organized, obviously. Try like your best to plan as far ahead as possible, because like I said, unexpected things will happen. I mean, especially if you don't have that much experience, you need to be so prepared that when an unexpected thing happens, you can have a plan. You can fall back on something. So like double locations, like a plan B, cast. Extras are always a struggle. Other tips, just also try to communicate a lot with your crew. I feel like I'm saying all these things. I don't do them on these forms. But it's something that I've also noticed, is that if you communicate a lot with your crew and make them feel like you're on top of things, even if maybe you're not fully on top of things, then they feel more secure in the production. Try use your budget as wisely as possible if you're on an indie film. I know it's more work, but try to do trade exchanges, because it's helpful for budget, it's helpful for your experience. Personally, like I just did a trade exchange for work, and it was just so cool meeting other people in a different industry and talking to them and like filming what they do. And it's definitely experience as well for you. I mean, if you like talking to people, then you'll love it.
And you get things for free, kind of.
Kind of. Yeah. I think those are the most important things for me.
Yeah.
And
there's some good things.
Google Doc.
That's right.
Google Docs go far.
Google Docs are cool.
You're really good at those. You really are.
They're interactive.
Yeah, you just like click on things and go to a different thing.
Yeah.
It's very
They
cool.
help you stay on top of things.
Yeah.
Do producers have to be creative?
I think they do.
I agree. It was a trick question. You passed.
No, they don't need to be creative. What are they going to be creative about? Sorry, I'm being bad cop.
Oh, okay. I think they have to be creative, because problem solving is creative. You encounter a problem, you have to figure out how to solve it, and sometimes maybe that's in a creative way. If there's issues with location and you have to sit down with the director and say, I know this is what you wanted, but maybe we need to do something else, and brainstorm and stuff like that. And I think, I mean, I don't know on feature films, but on short films, you guys are doing the marketing. But whenever I had to do the marketing on other stuff, it's like, that's creative. I mean, you know, it's...
Definitely.
I think producers have to be creative. I think if you're in producing and you just have like an accountant's mind, and it's just like format and this is what you do, I don't know if you'd enjoy it that way.
Yeah, then rather be an accountant.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to deal with people, you just deal with numbers.
Yeah.
So speaking about that, how I don't know, just flows. So speaking about that, how do you get into producing? Like, what do you need to do? What do you need to have? What do you need to think about?
I mean, I got into producing because I got a degree in producing. I think though, if you didn't study and you want to get into producing, you definitely just, I mean, I was speaking to a cameraman about it the other day. If you have nothing but you want to be in the industry, you just have to knock on doors and say, I'll work for you guys for free for a month. I just want to learn. And it sucks. It's going to suck, even if you have to do it for months. But you're not going to, even me with my degree, I'm not just going to get a producing job in a studio and be happy, I guess. It is, unfortunately, a bad experience. Like, they're going to want to see, like, what can you do? What can you handle? I mean, I went for an interview at a studio, and, like, the general vibe was that, like, oh, she's just out of varsity. And I mean, even though I have a degree in it, there's still this thing of like, what do I know? What does she know? Can they trust me with stuff? So...
Yeah, there's definitely a stigma about film school. in South Africa, I think. Like a lot of people, because it is one of those fields where you can sort of, like you say, get experience rather than, like medicine, you have to study before you can be a doctor, or accountancy even, you have to do that before you can. And film people just like sort of get on sets and then they work their way up, which is a perfectly fine way to do it. But then a lot of people then think that your film degree doesn't really mean anything, and then they have this like thing of like, oh, you studied, well, I've got 10 years, or you studied for 4 years, I've got 4 years experience, I know what I'm doing. Whereas what have you done, how many films have you done? You're like a couple of short films.
That stigma does exist, and it's kind of, for me, I understand both sides. Personally, when people think we don't have experience coming out of college, it does irritate me because we made short films in college. I know we were in like this little protected bubble, but we did have experience. But then on the other hand, that's what people think, like being on an actual set is very different to being in a college environment where like you kind of babied a little bit because they make sure your film gets done, where in the real world you make sure your film gets done. I think that also leads into, if you want to be anything in the industry, even a producer, like you need to be able to show that you can do it. So even if you have a degree or if you've been working on sets for like free, you need to be able to show what you can do, and you need to show that you can do it well. That's also like a really big thing. People like connections, obviously you need to know people, but you also have to be able to show what you've done and show that you can do it really well. Maybe not the best, but like good enough so that people will hire you, and trust you on their film.
What are some things you look for in a project before you take it on?
Personally, I just look at the script, and if I love the script, then I'll take it on. After that, like when I've agreed, then I think, damn, how am I going to do this? And I think I have seen it in other producers where they look at the project as a whole and think, can they achieve it? And maybe that's a more clever way.
Responsible.
Yeah. But like when I read your guys' scripts, I was like, these are so cool and I have to do it.
Stop.
So
keep talking. Stop, keep talking.
So personally, that's all I look for. I mean, if it's outrageous and I love the script, but I know it's outrageous, and I think I can't pull it off as a producer, I might not take it. But I always, if I love the story, I mean, because for me and my personality, it is a passion thing. If I'm doing something that I don't like, I can't do it. I just become like, I procrastinate and I just be bad at it. So,
yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, like, I do the same. But when you find that thing that you like really like, you just spend all your time and you're like, oh, it's night. How did that happen? I love that. I really.
It's Friday.
What other traits does a producer have to have, other than obviously you have to be organized if you're a producer? That's just like a given, but that's not like the whole thing. What do you think is like some other good traits for a producer to have?
I think producers also need to. I mean, I spoke about problem solving a lot, but that also then comes into like a personality trait where even if you're shy, you have to be able to communicate with people. You have to be willing to make phone calls. So if you're not a big communications person, or if you're not very outgoing, it's something that you're going to have to overcome, because I think it's something producers definitely need. You have to be able to communicate. You have to also, how do I say this? You have to be able to deal with knowing that you haven't achieved something. So if you are someone who just, it's like for me, I wanted to like impress you guys and do everything and sort everything out. You have to also, when that doesn't happen, realize that you can't do everything, and sometimes you're going to make mistakes. I think a producer can make a lot of mistakes, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to get back up from that.
Unacceptable. No, No mistakes. No, I'm kidding. But you, I mean, from my side, you literally didn't make any mistakes that I realized.
I mean, it's little things for me that, in terms of professionalism, so coming to set late because of reasons. I mean, it's not like I was sleeping in, but it is something that played on my mind. It is something that played on my mind, like, you know, I shouldn't have been late, I should have been there. And things like on a short film, on an indie film, where I didn't have much to do on set, like physically on set, there wasn't much to control because it was so small, such a confined set. So things like when the BTS person is like, don't you just want to do something? It's like part of your job. And that like got to me because I was like...
What is my job?
So it's things like that, and then like coming to the next set and being like, okay, I'm going to do my job.
But then your job's already done because everything's there and set up.
Yeah, so I think you also, there's a word for it, but you have to like be able to come back the next day and keep doing your job, even if it's only in your head. You know, if something went wrong, you need to be able to just keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good.
Highly inspirational.
Yeah.
What are some of your best tips? Bre'anne's hot tips for an effective pre-prod.
Alright, pre-prod.
Just explain what pre-prod is.
Okay, so...
The production. Done. Let's go.
Let's get into it.
So pre-prod is basically when you've got the script and the director and some of the budget, and now it's time to organize, to plan the shoot, who you're going to get to be in your crew, who's going to be your cast. It's like, now you're really planning the film. Tips would be, again, try to work with people who you trust, because there's nothing worse than unresponsive people who don't pitch on the day or like even a week before, just like drop you. Be organized, obviously. Try like your best to plan as far ahead as possible, because like I said, unexpected things will happen. I mean, especially if you don't have that much experience, you need to be so prepared that when an unexpected thing happens, you can have a plan, you can fall back on something. So like double locations, like plan B cast. Extras are always a struggle.
Yeah.
Other tips, just also try to communicate a lot with your crew. I feel like I'm saying all these things and I don't do them on these films. But it's something that I've also noticed is that if you communicate a lot with your crew and make them feel like you're on top of things, even if maybe you're not fully on top of things, then they feel more secure in the production. Try use your budget as wisely as possible if you're on an indie film. I know it's more work, but try to do trade exchanges, because it's helpful for budget, it's helpful for your experience. Personally, like I just did a trade exchange for work, and it was just so cool meeting other people in a different industry and talking to them and like filming what they do. And it's definitely experience as well for you. I mean, if you like talking to people, then you'll love it.
And you get things for free, kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I think those are the most important things for me.
Yeah.
And
There's some good things.
Google Doc.
That's right.
Google Docs go far.
Google Docs are cool.
You're really good at those. You really are.
They're interactive.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
like click on things and go to a different thing.
Yeah.
It's very
They
cool.
help you stay on top of things.
Yeah.
Why producing Bre'anne Holz?
So obviously in after you go through the different things, right? So I went into after not knowing why I was going into after. Obviously I had an idea I wanted to be in the industry, but I didn't go in there thinking I'm going to be a producer. I think a lot of it had to do with my dad saying to me before I went in, like, listen, he's met a director, they don't make any money, or he knew a friend who knew a director and they don't make any money unless you're like the best. So I should do something that I feel.
Thanks, Bree. Thanks, Bree's dad.
So I should do something that I feel would have security.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was in the back of my mind, thinking that, not knowing anything about the industry, thinking that I could at least make work for myself, having this idea that like producers make films, they get stuff done.
Which they do.
But then in after, like going through all the different disciplines, but like jobs, there's certain things that I knew I was like, I hate. And producing was just one of the ones that I just like, I really enjoyed. And I don't know why, I just really enjoyed it. I think the other one was writing. The rest was just like write-offs. Like, I just didn't enjoy them. So,
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Something about me liked it. I don't know what about me.
But hey, you're good at it, so
Thank you.
tell us a producing story.
The biggest lesson, I don't even like talking about it. Okay, so the biggest lesson that I learned, that still makes me nervous today, because I think it's one of my flaws, is confrontation, dealing with conflicts and confrontation, and communication. That's why I stress communication so much, because I was one of those people that I didn't want to make phone calls, I didn't want to speak to people. So our grad film was sponsored by an adult toy store, and we were shooting in a hospital, and the deal with this company was that we would do product placement with them, and kind of in the other locations. So I was just like, we're just going to put them everywhere in her bedroom because, I don't know. And then the director was like, I mean, she's a student. She's not just going to have them everywhere.
Yeah.
Because they're expensive. So I lost out on product placement there, because it was that kind of product placement that's like in the background. It's not going to be like in your face, Starbucks cup.
I mean, I guess it would be it would be difficult to make that kind of product placement seem natural, because you don't.
For the film, it wasn't too unnatural, because
Really?
it was about a girl discovering her sexual self.
But still, wouldn't it be like you have the object and not necessarily the branding of where it came from?
No, I see what you're saying. So yeah, so it in that sense, with the actual company name like around, that was unnatural, but they gave us money. So what are you gonna do? So anyway.
Sorry. Yeah.
So anyway, at the hospital, I had a little panic, because I was like, they need to see their stuff in the film. Otherwise, what are we going to do? And it was like a big panic, and discussions with the director, because it was like, and we didn't have a PD luckily, but it was like, are they going to ask for their money? Because now we didn't do our part of the deal. So, and obviously their money was spent. So in the hospital, I obviously didn't plan for the branding, all these sex toys, this sex toy company name to be everywhere, that obviously everyone knows what they do. I didn't plan for that to be in the hospital. So when securing the hospital location, I never told them, like, this is what's going to happen. And the lady who like helped me in the hospital, I don't know, like the manager, was super nice about it, but I still cringe to this day. So we were shooting in
Sorry, this is really funny.
a spare ward that like didn't get used.
Okay.
And we thought it would be empty, so I was just like putting stuff everywhere. There was just this sex toys and branding
In
of
the
this company
hospital.
in this ward, and it was supposed to only be the cast and crew. And then like a succession of like nurses kept coming through to go work in some other back room, and they were like in and out. And when it was
Sorry.
when it was happening, they were like laughing and making jokes about it. But then like a few days later, this lady called me to say like, the hospital is up in arms. They can't believe this happened. Were we shooting like a pornographic thing? I promise you guys, I even saved the WhatsApp chat because it was so bad. And I was done. I couldn't believe it. And luckily the lady was nice. And I sent her the film because we were in like the fine cut.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's not about that at all. I'm sorry, this wasn't planned at all. And I acknowledged my mistake. I should have gone to her and been like, look.
Listen, there's going to be dildos everywhere.
So that was scary, having a hospital up in arms because...
I just can't imagine in what situation all these things would be in a hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't imagine it.
And I also never thought it would happen because the nurses were just joking about it when they were walking through and they were like, oh, can we take them? And so when the phone call came, I was done. I went to like the producing lecturer and I was just like, I don't know what to do. And,
please help.
And she was nice about it. Once she saw the film and saw that there was nothing explicit, because I even explained to her, I was like, AFTA would never let us have like pornographic scenes.
Yeah.
And also they were worried obviously about their hospital brand. And you couldn't tell what hospital it was. Like, you would never know. So it all got sorted out. But that's a hectic learning curve.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think the lesson
That's
is,
really...
if you get sponsored, be careful about how you go about your
Right.
sponsorship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, for what I would think is you make sure that you write it into the script before production starts. You know what I mean?
We tried, but I think because the focus is always more on the story and you don't want to drag the focus to this branding, you know, and it's difficult. I mean...
But isn't that what happened anyway?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I think even the company were a little bit disappointed at how little their branding was in it. But they were also really nice. Like, communicate with your location about what's going on. Even if it's during the shoots, if something's happening... That's something that I never did before, is just always communicate with the person who's the manager of the location and just, if something happens, keep them updated. If something's unplanned, and I mean,
Yeah, transparency is always key, because I know
is.
always a lot of people in AFTA, they would like say, oh no, we're just going to do this. We're just going to go to this place and do this like shady things to get the film done. And it's just like, I was just like, no, like, don't do that. Why are you doing that? You wouldn't do that if you didn't have this like construct of this film. You wouldn't just do that as a human being. So just like be transparent about things.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be dodgy, don't be shady. Admit your mistakes as well. I know it's difficult, and even if you think it's going to cause conflict, sometimes you just have to be upfront about things, you know, and deal with the consequences, because it becomes so important. I mean, imagine on a feature film, all the stuff that could have gone wrong there.
Yeah, definitely.
What's like your best experience producing? It's that moment where you're like, yeah, I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing in my life, you know?
Yeah. It's going to sound strange, I think. I think for me it's strange, and I don't know why. So outside of college, I think being on set and producing Alle Grappies, and I don't know why. I think because I felt like we were faced with so many problems. It was like we could have finished that film so quickly, and the universe was just not going to let it happen. So there were so many things we were dealing with, and I mean, I could see inside you were freaking out, but you plowed through it. And you did so well. And I think we all did so well. And I think maybe that's why it was like one of the best experiences, is because the crew as a whole together, we were calm. We were like, we're going to get this done. You know, like Tanya at the hospital, she kept saying like, please hurry, I've got to get back to set. You know, and it was just the feeling of like, we're going to make this film. And it felt like everybody was into it and passionate, no matter what we faced, you know, and we had quite a few challenges. So I think that was the best experience.
You like it when
Yeah.
there's problems.
I don't like it when there's problems. I think I like it when there's problems and nobody acts like it's the end of the world and we all are going to get it done no matter what. Because I think that's the best attitude, because you feel like a family in a sense. Like we're not going to give up and we're going to get through it, you know. And I think a lot of times sets don't feel like that. There's always people, especially from college, who are on set who are just like, I'm here for my marks.
Oh,
And
that's the worst,
it didn't feel like they were really going to put in their all to get the film done, or like we have an hour left and everybody wants to leave and no one is like, oh no, but let's just get this last shot. So I think for me that was the best experience. It's just working with a crew that was just so passionate about the project and just to get it done, no matter what happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
felt like a family.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's been like a theme on all of the sets, you know. I mean, there was on Surface Tension, we
Oh yeah.
on the second day, like the first day was fine, but the second day, we just had like 2 scenes to do, so it was going to be really quick or whatever. And then all of a sudden,
It was like 10 o'clock.
it was like 10, right? And we spent an entire hour just getting this one shot,
Yeah.
you know? And then it was 11, and like wrap time was 12, right? So then it was literally just Mark, the sound guys, Seni and myself, because you also had to leave.
I left, yeah.
No, but you had a reason to leave. But we literally did like, I think it was 11 shots in that 1 hour. And I think it's one of the funniest parts in the movie, you know?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So that's definitely been a thing on all of the sets. I mean, those are only like 2 examples, but I'm really thankful to every crew member and everything.
You know what it reminds me of?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know the whole backstory, but I remember we watched a video, I think in producing, of the producer of Slumdog Millionaire winning Best Film at the Oscars, I think. I might be wrong.
Not sure.
It did.
And the producer coming on stage and just like bringing everybody on, because they faced budget problems and they faced challenges, and I just got the vibe from him that he was just so proud the film got made and proud of his crew, and that's a feature film, you know. And I think, you know, like you said, you like it when there's problems. I don't think it's that. I think it's overcoming the problems, you know, and feeling like everybody's trying to overcome the problem, that unity in a film. I think that's so important, because it also shows you that everybody loves the film and they just, they love it and they're doing it for that. They're not doing it for their paycheck.
Yeah.
So that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Oh.
Wholesome.
No, that's that leads back to what we said earlier about just treating people like people, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what was your experience on this project as like a what would we call it? It's like a multi-project, you know? It's like a 6-in-1 project.
Yeah.
What was your experience with that?
I think it's...
Like, what did you think when we sent you that email that first time, just out of the blue, and we're like, hey, we're making these 6 movies. Can you read them? Tell us what you think. Would you produce them?
I think going from Mark's email, like starting there, I loved the films. And then I saw how many people you copied in it, and I was like, okay, I got to tell them that I want to produce at least one. That was my first thought, like,
subscribe.
Am I going to be able to produce at least one? And then,
Aww.
and then, we couldn't get other producers, so I had to try to do all 6, and I can't take all the credit though. I had a lot of help. You guys did. You helped a lot with location, which is one of like my weak things. I struggle with location. Leah helped a lot. Who else helped a lot? I don't know. It was mostly you guys though. You guys did help a lot with producing and also understanding. I think that was a big part with these 6 films. You guys understanding me slacking in some areas and...
What?
No,
Not at all.
I'm
Not
serious.
at all.
Because it was challenging, obviously working during the week and then coming to set on the weekends and stuff like that. So when I had to leave early or when I had to arrive late, the fact that you guys understood was also a massive help, because I felt so guilty and I was just like, what am I going to do if they're pissed off at me? So
No, but I mean, from our side as well, it was a thing of, you know, we're doing this because we were also working, you know, 'cause we also had to do things to make money separate from the films. So we were in the same boat that you were in that regard, you know. So like we completely understand, like, okay, I have to work tomorrow, so I can only stay until this time. I can do this, or I'm going away on a shoot, you know, I can't be there this week, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So we completely understand that. And I mean, I think I said this earlier, but like, even through all of that, you think like, oh, I didn't do as much as I could. You did so much more than we expected. So no, I think both me and Mark are like very, very happy. So Bre'anne, in producing all of these 6 shorts, what was it like? Like, what was your experience?
Challenges.
I've never done it before. 6 shorts in 6 weeks. I don't think
I don't think anyone has.
So with that new experience, and I guess with all of us also working during the week, I think it was probably more challenging than if we just had free time, like during the week all we did was focus on these films. But it wasn't like super challenging that like I wanted to cry every night, you know.
Yeah.
I think overall it was a good experience. I learned a lot about myself and my producing and things that I can do. But also, I worked with people that I never worked with before. And that was also interesting for me in a good way. So yeah, overall with these 6 films, it was a good experience. It was challenging time-wise. But yeah, and also like, I mean, no offense, but I was telling Tanya, waking up every Saturday morning and knowing you have to go to a shoot, like by even the 3rd Saturday, I was just like, oh, I want to stay in bed. So, but then you get to set and you're just like in it and you forget that you were tired. So it was a really good experience just to see my limits, you know, to know that I can get myself out of bed and just have a great day. Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the one that did it for me was Al Akhrapis. Because we had a 6 a.m. call time, and I hate 6 a.m. call time.
And you had like a 40-minute drive.
Yeah, as well. So I had to wake up at 4 to shower, and then to leave by like 4:30 to pick this guy up.
Who's that?
This guy. and then we had to drive, and it was raining.
Well, there were more problems than just
But
rain.
yeah, true. But then when we got to set and like everybody was there, and you know, I don't think anybody was really late.
Not really.
Yeah, no, and it was like everybody wants to be here, you know, and that really like
it lifts you. It like gets you going.
Yeah, because there's that like excitement, you know,
the
and
energy.
the energy, yeah,
You know,
and
even
tap
though
into it.
I feel like everybody arrives with no energy, and then suddenly it's just like.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, we
don't
get
know
to
what-
make a movie today, you know.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I've had for a long time. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I mean, I graduated after 2017. And 2018, I was working at a place full time, and we didn't really do any. I did a lot of editing, but it wasn't any kind of short film type things. And getting back into like today we get to shoot a movie, you know, and then next week we get to shoot another one.
Yeah.
That's like that was really fun for me.
Yeah. No, it is. It's something that you think you probably wouldn't be able to go through looking at it, like before you get into it. But once you're in it, you realize that you actually want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what was the biggest challenge? I guess producing them.
I think the biggest challenge was the location. I think going into it, we wanted in pre-pod to have everything locked down before we went into the shoots, and then we found going into the shoots that for films we were still securing locations, people were dropping out, and we had to replace them. So I think the challenges were just, I don't know, the first thing that comes to mind for me is location. Not that the locations themselves were challenging, it was more like securing locations. So, yeah, talking back on the challenge of budget and trying to get decent craft and catering for 6 films, obviously catering companies were out of our budgets, and no one wants to eat pizza every Saturday, especially if you're like a constant crew member kind of thing.
Yeah. A recurring crew member.
Yeah. So we reached out to catering companies to see if we could make trade exchanges or get sponsored, and one company got back to us who were Catering Edge, and they were just the nicest people, because they understood that we're trying to be filmmakers. Well, we're filmmakers, but we're trying to like get our names out there.
Yeah, we're starting a new venture.
Yeah, we're starting up basically.
Yeah.
And they understood that, and they understood that we need help, because you just need help when you do these things.
And like even from the beginning, Grant, who delivers, he's one of the co-owners, but he also, delivers the food to us, which is amazing. Like, what other like company owner like brings food personally,
Yeah.
So I love that. Them, they're really great. The food is amazing.
It's amazing.
It's really, really good.
And we got lucky because they're actually one of the more expensive catering companies, so they have good quality food. So we would never have ever had their food on our set if we didn't make this deal. Yeah. And I think going forward, following through on the deal as well is going to be really great. It's going to be interesting for us as well.
Yeah.
So that wasn't so much, it was a challenge in the beginning to get a company to work with us, because like I said, people just don't even reply to you. They just ghost you.
You don't even know if they open the email.
Yeah. So it was a challenge, because then you think, oh, no one's going to respond to us. And then that one person responds to you. And I think it's just like life. You have to just keep trying.
Yeah.
You can't just send out
3 mails.
And hope for the best.
Yeah.
And then think, oh, this is never going to work. You have to like email everybody that you can find. You need to phone them.
Yeah.
And one person will get back to you out of all of that. And then it will turn out amazing.
And that's all you need. You need just the one person to like help you. Yeah.
One perseverance. And you'll get things.
Yeah. And like what I also wanted to say about Grant, when he came the first time on Robots, he was telling me about his uncle who used to be a filmmaker, and he went to the Cannes Film Festival like every year. And he one of his things was also like he remembers what it was like just starting out and people giving you that chance.
That's the same person that the location guy was.
For Big Sip, yeah.
He was said the same thing.
Yeah. So I just love people who like pay it forward, you know what I mean? So like somebody helped them, and then now they're helping the next generation, which is
that's amazing.
Yeah, a lot of people
just heartwarming. It gives you hope.
Yeah,
actually,
it really
I can't
does.
wait to win that position and not give anyone.
No. I was gonna say, if you need help, call us, but maybe not yet.
Not yet.
No, but I can't wait to just help people with things, I feel like it's a lot like Brad Pitt and his company, Plan B. He doesn't necessarily physically produce all these things, but he like helps them and he puts them in production. Like if it wasn't for him, probably wouldn't have gotten made.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
So I'm not saying we're going to be Brad Pitt, but if in the future, I just want to remember that, pay it forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shouldn't even be something you remember. It should just be part of
who you are. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I think.
Brad.
Yes, up, Brad.
At us.
Right. So thank you so much, Bre'anne. That was such a great conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So let us know. Like, do you guys like these shirts? We got the Make Your Movie shirt. We got Loot Picture shirts. Would you guys be interested in buying them? let us know.
I know I would.
Yes, if I didn't have it, I would buy it. No, but yeah, let us know. Is that something that you'd be interested in? Maybe we can like start up a store, you know? Okay, so that's it for Department Spotlight Producers Edition. Thank you so much, Bre'anne. We learned so much. So subscribe to Luke Pictures on YouTube. Consider the things that you need to do. Oh, leave a comment and like and bell and other things that YouTubers want you to do. All right, guys, so go out there and make your movie. All right, we can cut it, right? Cut it there.